Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Joni Young here if you're new. Thank you all for joining me today for this painting tutorial. I'm going to be working on a landscape from a photo submitted by one of my lovely patrons, Amy. Thank you so much, Amy, for sending this photo. I hope you enjoy this rendering of it. And I'm going to go ahead and go over the colors I'm using today for this painting. First of all, we've got an 11 by 14 double primed and stretched canvas. I have the following colors: yellow ochre, sap green, dioxazine purple, cobalt blue, blue turquoise, neon red, Mars black, and titanium white. Check out the full list below this video. And we're gonna go ahead and get started. First of all, just getting a little bit of water on the canvas with my number 30 filbert brush. This is gonna help me blend my acrylics out easily. Okay, so with just a little bit of water, wet that canvas down. We can now come in with our sky. Now the sky, I thought it would be really pretty to combine a mixture of the cobalt blue with a bit of blue turquoise and then add a little bit of white. So I'm going to take just a little bit of each blue. I'm not going to mix it up to make one solid color on my palette. I'm just going to let it flow out onto the canvas. Then right away, take some white and start adding that. I'm going to add a little bit more white. Gradually add more white. And I'll just work that paint out of my brush. Even though it's not going to be blue down here, it still helps to have another layer of paint. It all helps to create a good surface to take the next layer of paint. Okay, now what I'm going to do is come in and start working on the cloud. We're going to have a cloud behind the mountain and then also wrapping kind of around the mountain. So we'll do the back part of the cloud first, come in and add the mountain, and then after that we'll add the rest of the cloud in front. So it's important to work background to foreground to build those layers properly. So I'm just going to take a little bit of white with a clean dry brush, and we're going to go down right about just above halfway, and I'm just gonna create a little soft wiggle like this. Then I'll take a dry, smaller filbert brush and just soften. Really want to make the top of the cloud nice and smooth like it is in the photo. So you can check out the reference photo that I'll attach on Patreon. And for a little bit of a shadow on this cloud, I'm going to take a little bit of cobalt blue. I'm just going to come in a few areas here along the left side. And you can apply this to dry paint or wet paint. Okay, now I'm going to come in with a mountain. And I'm gonna paint over top of part of the cloud, right? And then we'll add the rest of the cloud on top of the mountain after that. This is the other side of the cloud, on the other side of the mountain. So for the mountain, I'm going to take purple, blue, a little bit of black, and I'll just mix it up over here. I need a little bit more blue. Okay, and I'm going to come right up here, and we're just going to paint long on either side, stretched out triangle. And that's all you have to think about painting for your mountain. Don't psych yourselves out. Just stick to these simple shapes and then paint it in. And then you can start to make it a little misshapen, add a few little bumps, just going up and down quickly with your brush. Take a little bit more blue, purple, and a little bit of white now. And I'll just start wiggling in and then pulling down and out on either side. I'm going to take a little bit of green now, a little bit of black. I'm going to mix that up together with the other color. And I'm going to have a row in front now with some other little rolling hills. So again, green, black, and those purples, purple and blue and white. I'm going to switch over to a liner brush. You can use a liner or a round. And I'm going to take a little bit of white, some blue, mix it up with that green-black mixture, the mixture that we used for this strip. And I'm going to start just with it flat like this, gently pull and drag. We want it to look a little patchy like that. And then I'm going to take a little bit more blue and white. Do the same thing. So we have a few different tones and colors going on in our mountain. And I'm going to take that right over this part of the cloud. Then with my filbert brush that I used earlier, it's still a little bit damp from washing it out and drying it. I'm just going to soften any harsh lines. Okay, the next color I'm going to take is green. I'm going to mix that in the blues. I'm just going to add a few little patchy areas here. And a little bit of yellow ochre. Mix that in, a little bit of white. Again, flat with a brush. So just some more little hills in the distance. Okay, now it's time to come in with the little wiggles and squiggles of the snow and the glaciers. So just with a liner brush, some white, very gently, we're just gonna wiggle out. And again, you can apply this to wet underpainting, like mine's a little bit wet still, and it'll also work on a dry painting. So just a few little lines and wiggles. A little bit more generous right in this area here. We have more white. And again, if you want to work from the reference photo along with me during this tutorial, it's available to download on Patreon. Thanks to one of my patrons, Amy, who submitted this photo that she took. And you too, watching now, if you're a patron, then you can send me not only just one, but you can send me as many photos as you like, as long as you've taken them. And I'll render them my best, make a tutorial, and gift you, the original photographer and patron, the painting as a thank you. Okay, now what I want to do is start coming in with a little bit of the yellow ochre on the hills in the here in this area before we start adding the golden field. I'm going to take yellow ochre and a little bit of white with my little filbert brush. You can use a round brush, liner brush, any small brush that you feel comfortable with for this step. So we've just got a few little hills here, and they have some green trees and little bushes on them. So that's why I'm going to apply this sort of patchy like. I'm going to add a little bit more white. And then we've got another hill there, this little one behind, and then another little one. A little bit here and there. See, it's just so easy and quick. You don't have to take too long to be able to paint a landscape. I'm showing you these quick and easy brush strokes. A little line here, a little dab, a little triangle, you know, just breaking it down into shapes. had a little drip there from earlier, and applying just a little bit extra white in there can help cover that up. Okay, then what I'm going to do is just take just a little bit more in here and then go a little bit more of that yellow ochre and white. Go right underneath. And start to fill that in. And in some areas it's a little bit brighter, so there's a few little strips in here where I'm going to add more white. And that'll become more visible as we progress in this painting. I love big open fields like this. I just think they're so relaxing. You don't always need to have a lot going on in a painting. It's just however something in nature makes you feel. If you feel calm, it could just be as simple as a field with nothing in it and just the sky and a few clouds. Okay, I'm going to continue along here. I'm going to take a little bit of water on my brush. That's going to help. As we get closer here to the bottom of the canvas, we're going to start to make it a little bit darker so that we can build up some highlights of more little pieces of hay that are a little bit more visible. But for the background, these parts here, they have to remain just blurry. So it's just about applying the color in strips. Sometimes more of the yellow ochre will come out, which is quite complementary with a little bit of purple and cobalt blue we've got going on. I'm going to start to add a little bit of purple now. Just because, like I said, and a little bit of black so that we can build up a little bit more detail to make it look like it's more in the foreground. So I'll be creating some singular pieces of hay or tall grass. Pretty sure it's a hay field. I'll have to double check with Amy, and Amy, if you're watching, you maybe want to just feel free to add exactly where this is in the comment section below. Okay, I'm washing out my brush completely. And I'm going to go back over to, well, I'm going to take a little round brush here with a little bit of green and just a little bit of purple. And I'm going to start adding a little bit of the dark green foliage and bushes. So we've got this left side almost solid, and then there's these little separate little trees. They're just really dots that we're adding. And then we're going to push in a few little dabs for some bushes in front of those hills. Okay, we'll move on to this one back here. Do the same thing, almost solid on one side, and then a few bushes in front, and a few little dabs, different sizes for some bushes and trees along the right side of the hill. And then over here we have a little bit heavier green and purple, a few little lines that go kind of rounded and diagonal there. And then a dark line to separate from the field. I'm going to take green and cobalt blue, add a little, let's add a little bit of white and a little bit more blue to that. This green looks so pretty with the purple. With a clean filbert brush, I'm going to go back over to my yellow ochre and white, and I'm going to clean this line up. Add extra white, pull and sweep, pull and sweep. And then just up slightly. It goes up a little bit there. I'll apply another layer of the yellow ochre and the white. A little bit of water on my brush. Now you can start to make these little short little brush strokes, little flicks this way and that way. And I'm going to take a little bit of green with my yellow ochre, make this sort of an olive color, and just tap in a little bit of this color too. Just incorporate a little bit of that here and there. I think that's quite nice. Okay, so the next brush I'm going to be introducing is my fan brush, and I'm going to be using this brush to show you and teach you how to make multiple layers of grass and hay. And this is also the same technique that you would use in brush stroke for painting fur and hair. So the trick is to get it wet so that it splits apart like this. I'm going to take some yellow ochre and white, more white and water, and we're just going to start barely any pressure, light little flicks, sweep, sweep, sweep. And then they can get shorter and shorter as they get farther away. And then you can just kind of wiggle like that. And that way it gradually goes from blurry background to more detail here in the foreground. If you don't have a fan brush, you can just do this with, it'll take a little longer, but you can use a liner brush. Because we're using water with this step, it's going to dry a little bit more faded than this, so we're going to come back and come in and add a little bit more white and yellow ochre as we need to. Depends on how bright. I want it to look kind of shimmery. Now you can use a gold paint. I've done that before with gold fields. And also come in here, turn your brush this way, and tap. So, you know, just alternate adding a little bit more yellow ochre. Now, if you don't have yellow ochre, I always like to give you guys alternatives when I remember and when I think of it. Just use a warm yellow, add a little bit of burnt sienna to it, and there you go. Same with a cool yellow. You can add a little burnt sienna to it, a little bit of white even, until you get the desired shade that works for you. Now what I'm going to do is create a quick little curve. This is another technique that can be really effective when painting waves and hair. I always find what works best for me is to do it quickly and keep going without stopping and hesitating and thinking too much about it, that's when it looks the most natural in nature, right? So we have those little curves, the little pieces of hay blowing in the breeze. So now we've created a feeling, a movement, and you can almost imagine the sunlight on your face and feeling a little bit of a breeze. So I'm going to go back here now and add another layer, strip of more of the white. It's just tinted a little bit with the yellow ochre, but you could just do straight white because see, when it dries, it's not as bright. So I'll come in and I'll re-add those strips. It all just really helps to create a little bit more sunlight and a shimmery, overall kind of shimmery feel without adding gold. But gold would be a beautiful touch to this, metallic gold. I've got one here, and that would be really pretty when the sun hits it, but you won't be able to take photos of it after. So keep that in mind when you're using glosses. Any kind of gloss, metallic, anything shimmery or sparkly, it's very hard to photograph once you've applied that. Okay, so I think I'm ready to add a little bit more detail to the mountain. We're gonna come over with the rest of our cloud. See, the cloud is just coming over the very top tip of the mountain. So I'm gonna take another little filbert brush, some white, and I'm going to come over. It's kind of like swirly in little layers like this. We have this little line in between. And then more white right there. That comes out a little bit. And then it's fairly transparent in this area here. And it sweeps down a little bit. Kind of just sweep and soften. And then I'll take a little bit of white on the tip of my brush. And I'll come in and just tap in or wiggle in to make those white areas a little brighter. I like to use titanium white because it's the brightest. So it might take you a little bit longer if you're using, say, like a zinc white. And I'll just add a few little dabs here before I come in with our fence. I'm going to use my round brush again for the fence. And I'm going to take some purple, some black, and a little bit of yellow ochre. A little bit of white and some more purple. Keep those colors as complementary as I can. So playing up on the purple where I can really goes nicely and accents the yellow ochre. So we've got a crooked old fence. Okay, don't have to worry about painting anything straight up and down. You just be as loose and carefree as you like. That way it adds even more character. We've got a few other little bit wider posts. And one that really leans this way. It's always fun to see somebody's rendering through their eyes and their artwork of a photograph. So if you guys are like me and you want to see the original photograph that I used to paint this from, there'll be a Patreon link below where you can sign up for as little as $5 a month. Just going to water down this color now. That way it'll help me add some thinner lines in here for the wire that goes through. Take just a little bit more of my green and purple. Add a little bit more depth back here. See, this will make the mountain, the layers stand out more from one another. Now I'll demonstrate how to paint a few pieces of hay or grass with a long liner brush. You're going to need water, yellow ochre, and white, the same colors that we originally used for our hayfield. And of course we want to have some in front of these fence posts, otherwise they're going to look like they're just floating there, right? So just little gentle flicks. Just added a little bit more of my yellow ochre here to my palette. I was originally going to incorporate some little pink blossom flowers in here, but I changed my mind because I quite like it simple like this. I think it's enough without the flowers. And if you want to see, I did paint, I think it's Mount Fuji. Kind of looks similar to this mountain. It's more of a mountain, no field in the front, with actual cherry blossoms around that. So be sure to check that out. That's currently on Patreon right now. So I'm just going to add a little bit of blue and white, just with my little filbert brush. I'm going to pull and wrap that around this cloud, slightly swirl. And then add a little bit of that blue in here along the fence to add some more complementary colors. A few little shadows in between here. Okay, I want to thank Amy again so very much for sending me this photo. And I'm looking forward to seeing the photos yet to be sent in by you patrons and subscribers. So have a wonderful day. Hope you guys enjoy this one and you learned a lot. Can't wait to see yours up on our Facebook group. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you soon in my next video. Bye!